inequality is as prevalent as ever in society, with I'm sure many of you noticing the features of our world today that highlight so clearly the need for us to address not only systemic inequality, but also its forms that we might encounter on a more daily basis. At our place, our view is that inequality, including themes of justice and fairness, are central to all relationships, and it's quite clear that the therapeutic relationship is no different. So the client and practitioner relationship is really one that's unequal, particularly when we're working in the mental health field, both in public and private settings, but also the not-for-profit sector. So inequality takes many forms within the client-practitioner relationship, but firstly, working as a practitioner, the client comes to me revealing personal and private information, often information that's sensitive in nature or that most likely isn't shared elsewhere in their socio-relational world. The client also comes to us with a request generally for us to assist them to make something happen or for something to no longer be happening in their world. And in every case, the practitioner doesn't engage in the same thing with the client. So the practitioner doesn't share private and personal information with the client and also doesn't make a personal request of that client. Secondly, the power differential is very real. So as a practitioner, we're often backed by an institution of some sort. So maybe the agency in which we work, funding providers like Medicare or NDIS, for example, the law and court system, and even other services that may make a direct request of us. So for example, a school approaching a practitioner, asking them for assistance with managing a young child's behaviour. On the flip side, the client generally engages in the therapeutic process with limited external support of the institution. Finally, the client will ordinarily enter the therapeutic process with issues around anxiety, processing, memory, possibly issues with their language skills or brain functioning, learning difficulties, maybe acquired brain injury, drug or alcohol use, or a major mental health diagnosis, which constrains their cognitive functioning, particularly in comparison to the practitioner. This might simply affect their ability to remember and process the content of a therapy session, which limits the difference it will make to them in their everyday lives. So inequality, or the mismanagement of inequality, is the main contributor to stuckness, especially in highly complex matters. And it's the major constraint to effective service delivery. It can affect client outcomes in the most simplest of ways, which might be, for example, a person with an intellectual disability who might attend therapy on their own and can't actually always remember or process what occurred in that session, and then can't actually follow the advice of the practitioner or implement what occurred in that therapy session. In more complex cases, we see possibly issues of authority and responsibility becoming unbalanced, which have more of a profound impact on the therapeutic process and client outcomes. So when I'm talking about authority and responsibility or issues around that, this is really about who should own the problem, who has the power or capacity to change the problem, and who's taking responsibility to make that change. The problem doesn't always have to include just the client, but also includes others in their world and will include the practitioner themselves. Power struggles over ownership, and in particular, maybe the desire of one or more people in the system to not actually take responsibility, but continue to exercise power, really can paralyze problem solving. So we know that the relationship between the client and the practitioner is not equal, and inequality in service delivery can never fully be resolved, but we can certainly address it in many ways, both in a practical sense and a broader sense as well. Through the work of the Bauer Place Complex Needs Clinic, we've formulated ways that inequality can be remediated in every session and can be adapted to suit every client. So if you're interested in finding out more about what we do and how you might be able to implement that in your own practice and help those stuck cases become unstuck, click on the link below.